Hello and welcome to the Stampscapes Spooky Lab. We have a piece of the Deanna Tubb-Sedillo background papers, really cool crescent moon, and when I look at this, I tend to see this as top and bottom, but I wanted to use this in a reflection card format, so we have a piece of the mirrored cardstock. This is about 6.5 by 4.5. You got to get in touch with Deanna Tubb-Sedillo directly for these larger background papers. She has a channel up there on YouTube, or you can contact her via Facebook. But this is kind of what we're looking at right here. And I was thinking, on this crescent moon, we have all these little moons, cute little ghosts, I should say. And I thought about having this little glow-in-the-dark ghost sitting here like he's kicking back on the moon. Now, to fill out this scene, we don't have a lot of space here, so I'm going to make a little bit of a slope right here with a haunted tree, spooky tree, and some tombstones right here. So I thought that would be a pretty interesting in-concept composition, so let's give it a try. All right. I have my sedge filler stamp like this. You don't have to be too, no, I don't know, whatever, precise about your stamping of that, because we're going to have, going to be filling that in quite a bit. Okay, let me make that a little bit more sloped like that, okay? Go like that. And we'll go with our large spooky tree from one of the new Halloween imagery nature sets. We have 6 Halloween sets now. I love the genre, so the last 2 years I've been getting around to creating quite a few Halloween sets to really fill out all the imagery that I've always wished I had. Okay, so this tree right here, stamping on these pre-printed background papers, you want to give it a little bit more time for the ink to transfer over to the paper and to be able to penetrate the printer ink that's on there. That way you'll get as dark of an impression as you can. So this is black, but still that gave me about I'd say like an 85% gray impression, okay? So not completely black, but you just want to give yourself the best chance of the darkest impression that you can get. Okay, now let's see. Let's go for some tombstones on here. A VersaFine Clair would be really good. I happen to be using a Eclipse Black from The Moon and the Banker that I really like. Hybrid inks are a combination of some dye and pigment ink, I guess. I'm kind of tilting these tombstones just a little bit to make them look a little bit more like older, where they're settling and over the years kind of tilt it a little bit more. Okay, let's go for some more tombstones here. These ones are a little bit smaller, I think, or do we want to go for some... I was going to say we can go for some real distant ones. We'll keep them, the tombstones, a little bit closer. Like that, and let's see. that. Now, we're really getting there in terms of finishing this piece. That's one of those things about starting off with a background paper like this. They come together pretty fast because you're not doing all the colors and everything in the background. Okay, that speaking of impressions, that didn't stamp out very dark, my last cross, so I'm just going to fill it in with a colored pencil, so it's no big deal. Now these tombstones right here are a little bit more textured than these other ones, but I still might want them a little bit darker. So I'm going to fill in a little bit with this, just because they're against such a dark sky like that. And what we'll do is we'll anchor our tree down with a shadow like this. We'll give our slope here a little bit more, kind of body, and where this tree is going into the ground like this, into that grassy slope, what we'll do is we'll add an anchoring shadow to it. And then where this moon is kind of casting its light onto the slope right here, we'll create some shadows coming from the tombstones right there. And see this, I kind of just had this darker to lighter shadow in there. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? And now see this right here, the shadow being cast by these ones right here, it's, the moon is right there, so the shadows are kind of coming down this way like that. But maybe over here, these shadows are much more kind of horizontal like that, because the lighting is coming from that way. Now you ask, well, where on the moon do you decide? I usually just pick like the center of it as my source of whatever light emanation. See that you've given your little slope a little bit more body with the shadow work on here. Now I'm going to add in some of the extra little shadow work right around in here, just to give that a little bit of variation in there. So sometimes it's not always just kind of like thinking in theory, it's just like you got to make it visual. So this open area in here, I thought it was a little bit too light, so I bisect that light, with a little bit of a, darkness going across, like right in there. Okay, let's see what this looks like here. We have that like that. Now, one of the things is I usually like to do on the bottom of my slope right here, I like to make it darker, okay? So I'm going to take this, I'm going to make this a little bit darker at the base, and then as I come up, I'll lighten it up a little bit. So it's kind of like we're going from dark to light, So darker at the base down here too. So it goes from dark to light and dark to light like that. That's I'm talking about on like reflection cards like this. It seems like when the land mass at the top kind of transitions into a darker area right here, I just think it looks a little bit more natural like that, to have that shadow in there. There we go, like that. All right. Let's go in with a few extra rocks down here, but let's do a little bit of I was going to say my placement of my... Okay, I don't know where my little ghost went. I will pause and I will look for my little star of my scene on the glow-in-the-dark sticker paper. All right, I found my little ghost, and we'll be placing him about right here, I think. It's like this little ghost right here is like it's like a little kid. It's kind of a cute ghost. like that. And he's got his little lantern right there. Okay, now on this lower portion, I mean, we could just leave this as is and just go for just a direct reflection like that. But I like a few extra little rocks down here, and I thought I'd use some of those little three-dimensional leaves down here. So we'll take a look at and see what that looks like. All right, we have some rocks, and we're going to take a look here and see where our reflections go. This is a main reflection down here. Okay, so if I put something right here, I don't want to cover up this because I'm covering up my main kind of star of the scene. So if I put these rocks right here, that would be okay, but I don't want to put it over that. You see where that's reflecting down in there. So reflection cards, you know, you want to maximize the things that you're reflecting for. I don't know, whatever, dramatic effect, I guess you could say. Stamping onto metallic cardstock like this, what you do want to do is you want to use StazOn ink. Stamp, hold, but don't hold it down too long, because what happens is the StazOn dries, and then if it's drying on the rubber, you might lift off, and like most of the ink comes off. It's you know, so yeah, not like an ultra quick impression, but just, you know, don't hold it down too long. But see, here we have the rock right down here, and it's not impeding, you know, the visual of, or it's not blocking out the visual of that reflection. Now over here, you know, we can put other rocks. We have this reflected down here, but it'd be good to break this up a little bit so it's not just completely mirrored. It gives it a little bit more. Now this right here, I just use this little portion of these rocks, but I'll use this smaller version, like right over here, I think. I do like the tree and, you know, the tombstones reflecting down here, but breaking it up a little bit kind of, it enhances the illusion of this silver cardstock as being that of water, you know, and a different surface. Okay, see these rocks like that. And I can go for another one right here, but I don't want to go too far in there, it looks like. Now, if you ever stamp one of these out and say, "Oh my God, I'm blocked out my reflection," just take a little alcohol and a cotton swab, you know, cute cotton ball, and just wipe it right off. I'm trying to think if I want any more in here. I think that'll do it. All right, now let's keep the StazOn ink handy, and then let's put some extra little texturing down here with my tiny rocks small, okay? And I like this texturing at the base of, you know, my little slope in here. So I'll add some of these down, and I do it in multiples, and I do it in different impression strengths. So here's some in black, but then the more that I stamp it out, it, you know, it becomes gray because it's a lighter impression. So I'm kind of anchoring down some of the imagery that's already been stamped in here. And what I mean by anchoring it, it's, let's see if I can show you right here. I don't know if you could see this. It's okay, there you go, right there. See, it's all these little pebbles like that. And then I have some of those darker ones and then lighter ones down here. So it's like you kind of trail that off, but it seems like these rocks are sitting in the water a little bit more now, like that. Okay, so let's pair this up like that. And see these little reflections like that? I think that looks really good. Okay, now I'm wondering if I want anything else. There's like this, these branches I can put down here in the foreground. That might be kind of interesting. Yeah, why not? This is the spooky branch. Couple on this side. It's hard to tell right here. Here, I'll show you what it looks like in the reflection, or with the reflection top portion reflecting down there like that. All right, now, one of the things I was mentioning was little three-dimensional leaves, and I have these little bags of modelers leaves, I guess you call them. Them like this in just different colors, typically autumn. And they're just little, like, I don't know what they are. I guess they're paper and tinted. And what we'll do is we'll put some of the applications of these onto the surface. So it looks like there's like floating little fall leaves in the water. I usually use this little pointed scratch knife to pick up my leaves. It's just a little bit easier for placement here. All right, so just some crafter's glue right here with the, whatever precision tip there, whatever dispenser, whatever you call it. And with this, you want to give it a pretty decent little drop of glue. Why isn't this feeding here? Oh, there we go. So anywhere where I put a little drop like that will be one of these little leaves. So something like that. Kind of want to, I don't know, vary it a little bit. Of course, leave room for your leaves, but and these leaves they do have a little bit of a curl to them. So you want to put the flat side down, of course. You don't want it curled where it's not picking it up. Okay, for some reason I'm not picking these up very easily with my little pointy tool like I remember doing before. Now all these leaves are a little bit of a different shape, I guess. So they're not all completely uniform, which I do appreciate. Okay, here, I can't pick those up over there. Here, let me put some down here so I can poke into my piece of paper, blotter paper. Yeah, okay, here we go. Here's a red one. And a bit of green like that. Mix it up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to pause this and I'll lay these ones down because this is a boring viewing here. All right, we have all of our leaves connected like that. So I get a little bit of a I don't know, it's like a little bit of a whimsical type of three-dimensional look like that. Those leaves down there, a little bit more color. And let's see, to finish this piece off, I'm going to try to stamp in reverse up here, white onto, yeah, pretty dark. And I'll try that with the white pigment ink here. Always a little nerve-wracking. I got a little fuzz there. All right, let's give it a shot. I figure if I don't get the stamping on here directly very well, I can always redo it and just put the a new quote stamp right over the top, but mount it on another piece of paper, which is probably might even look better, but this is of course faster, so I usually try it direct first. Yeah, not too bad. The M is a little bit light, but I think I'll live with that. Or I can live with that. I'm thinking if I want anything else in here, like crows up in the trees maybe, or something like that. I don't know if it would detract from our main little guy there, though, as the star of the scene. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we'll just leave it like that. Anyway, so our little guy on the moon. Let's give our little character a little bit more kind of volume here. I'm going to put a little bit of shade. It's a little bit way too dark. I'm going to put a little bit of color into his drapery. Remember, this is he's also glow in the dark, so he'd really stand out in the dark. So I'm just shading in, I'm shading his shadows a little bit more, just with a little bit of gray tone. Anyway, there you go. I'll use some spray adhesive and I'll adhere both of these components into this card base, and that will be the interior of our reflection card. So the moon and the little ghost scene. Oh, here we go. So here I'm just noticing some of their little things on here. These tombstones in here, I mean, they look okay as is, but they can use a little bit of highlighting. White acrylic paint pen, so on the side of these tombstones facing the moon, I'll give them a little bit more of a highlight like that. And like even on the cross over here, we can do that too. A few little highlights on the tree here. And a little bit of highlighting on the kind of the meadow, or not the meadow, but the slope, the grass on the slope, like that. Let's take a look at it again. One of my leaves didn't adhere. Maybe I'll leave it off. Anyways, there we go. That looks a little bit better with those reflections, light reflections on the tombstones, I think. So there you have it. The moon and the little ghost card. Hope you like it. Thanks so much for watching.